We've all been cultured to explore our lucid dreams in certain ways that can be valuable, and a lot of that does involve asking questions. I want answers. I want to know why I'm dreaming this, or I want to know what to do in my personal life. So those very well can be worth exploring, but I want to make sure that some of you have some reasonable expectations about this. These are all great questions to ask. They can be fruitful. They can help you learn about yourself. We've read examples of these in some books, and it can be really interesting and worth exploring. But at the same time, it might not work. So making requests and dreams or demands, asking for answers, demanding answers, it doesn't always work. Or at least it doesn't always work in the way that you expect. And this has to do with the notion that controlling your dreams is a lucid dreaming myth. We don't necessarily have control over our dreams. They're not going to just give us what we want whenever we want it. They have their own agenda in certain ways. And still, with their um, they have good intentions for you, of course, but they're not just going to give you what you think it is that you want. But sometimes you can ask things, and that response you get from the dream, it might seem very insightful. So it could be worth asking, but it also could be a really shallow response or something that's nonsense, or it doesn't respond at all. So I want you to be prepared for this so it doesn't frustrate you and you don't get stuck. And we want you to be prepared so you can learn to be more creative and flexible in how you relate with some of these intentions you're exploring in the dream state. But what I'm trying to hammer home is just to realize that it's not your dream's job to give you answers. It can, maybe, if you ask nicely, but really, you're the one that has to do the work. And there certainly are some ways to help you do that. So some possible tools really do revolve around creative flexibility, mental flexibility, enhancing your psychological flexibility in relation to some of these goals. So one thing you might consider is examining the worth of your question. If you ask a question that's kind of meaningless, or it's just sort of rote, or something you're repeating you read from a book, are you really going to get that meaningful of an answer? You might not. There's a case I was working with who had a trauma history, for example, and he got lucid, and he asked, "Well, why are you in my dream?" And he didn't get an answer, but I kind of told him, like, what? Well, why do you think you're dreaming about it? Do you really have to ask your dream why you're dreaming about it? Why do you think? And the answer was obvious, because he was dreaming about his trauma. So obviously, you don't really need to ask that question. There's got to be a different way of relating. Another tactic you might explore is, let's say you're not getting the response you want in the dream. Well, how about you answer the question in the lucid dream? You tried in waking life too, but see what happens when you connect with your intuition, speak from the heart, while in the most potent and creative state available. What comes out of your mouth? What can you put into words regarding the question that you're trying to ask? And then some other considerations, just to help you be more flexible around this, is that self knowledge comes from many different forms through lucid dream work, not just asking questions. The dream's response might manifest in unexpected ways. So you might think that it didn't respond at all, or you expected it to respond one way, but it was completely different. Honor the response that it has, just as it is, and just know that it might come in a surprising way. So we want you to be prepared for that so you don't miss it. And the other thing to realize is that the meaning behind your dream's responses, it might not be clear until later, maybe after you worked with the dream, or it could be even years down the line that clarity comes more. If we have some precognitive dreamers, I imagine that some people have noticed they might have a dream, and then they have a waking life experience that reflects that dream. So you kind of have to be patient and wait sometimes. This process, it doesn't always work in the most linear and expected ways.